Throughout history, all immortals and gods have died, but only those who uphold the Tao keep their names. I have a list that transforms into the heavens. In the urban world, transforming into the ancestor of the heavenly master, refining alchemy under the gaze of 100,000 people, the alchemy becomes dragon and tiger. In a strange world, transforming into a wandering demon ancestor, in the realm of heaven and earth, displaying the technique of stepping on turtles and snakes, and cutting off the demonic energy of the world. In the world of immortality and chivalry, portraying the founder of Chunyang, playing in the world, and flying over Dongting Lake with a loud chant. The world of the heavens, endless myths. Hua Nezek caused a commotion in the Dragon Palace, portrayed Erlang carrying mountains and chasing the sun, and imitated monkeys to cause a commotion in the heavenly palace. In the end, Emperor Qingtian will govern the heavens. Keywords of this book. Role-playing, Daogua, the heavens, mythology. Keywords of the novel. Hua Yen Zhu Tian Wu pop-up window, Hua Yen Zhu Tian TXT complete collection download, Hua Yen Zhu Tian latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Something Wrong in the Immortal Realm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Something Wrong in the Immortal Realm. Beihan Shenyu, Jingle Kingdom, Qishan City. Angry snow and majestic cold, the world is desolate, and within 1,000 miles, it is a silver white with few colors. On the main residence of the city, it is like a spring breeze, with 4 seasons like spring. There are cranes chirping in the sky, and spirit deer wandering in the garden. Rare flowers, spirit wine, and elixirs are countless in the banquet, with countless delicacies and delicacies. The lord of Qishan City, Jiang Danchen, is entertaining his friends in the mansion. The people who come and go here are all famous cultivators from Qishan City. Even the ones who walk out at the end of the banquet are those who can easily break mountains and rivers. And the city lord Jiang Danchen has already reached the realm of crossing tribulations. This banquet is held precisely for this purpose. During the banquet, a group of great cultivators stood up and stood in their seats, wishing Jiang Danchen well. Congratulations to Master Jiang Cheng for taking a 100-foot pole to the next level and becoming a rare cross-calamity cultivator in my Jingle Kingdom. Just cross the Qingxian calamity again, and you will become a genuine immortal in the immortal realm. Congratulations to Lord Jiang, congratulations to Lord Jiang. A person raised their glass and said, even in the northern cold immortal realm, Jingle Kingdom is not a small country. Today, there is only one heavenly immortal, the giant spirit god, and 8 true immortals. If the city lord can overcome the immortal calamity, he will definitely become one of the top 10 immortals in Jingle Kingdom. Jiang Danchen thanked each other one by one and said, in the future era of the immortal realm, it will not be easy to reach the realm of crossing the tribulation. The danger of becoming an immortal tribulation is one of 9 lives. Alas, how dare you expect such extravagance? Lord Jiang is too modest. I believe Lord Jiang has the talent to become an immortal. A group of cultivators either comforted or boasted, creating a lively atmosphere for a moment. Boom! Suddenly, a mixture of 10,000 golden lights and thunder echoed through the outside of Qishan City. Startled, cranes flew wildly in Jiang Danchen's lord's mansion, while spirit deer fled and trampled on the food, vegetables, fruits, and vegetables at the banquet. Boom! A massive heavenly power surged out with countless golden talismans, while an almost suffocating wave of immortal laws rolled open in all directions, sweeping across Qishan City in an instant. Jiang Danchen and the group of great monks at the banquet felt this fluctuation, and as soon as they touched it, they all felt the benefits. They closed their eyes in shock and ecstasy and began to comprehend. After a few breaths, the golden rune rule that had spread across Qishan City gradually dissipated. During the banquet, all the great cultivators also came to their senses from their enlightenment state. Looking at each other. A moment of shock and chaotic words disturbed the room. Unbelievable. What was the fluctuation of this rule just now? This is the fairyland rule that appeared when becoming an immortal. Has someone become an immortal? All the great cultivators looked at the city lord Jiang Danchen. The most powerful cultivator in Qishan city is clearly here. Who is the person who becomes an immortal? After experiencing a brief period of shock and disbelief, Jiang Danchen instinctively spread his divine consciousness to search. But reason stopped him, and he was extremely afraid. As a cultivator who had just crossed the tribulation, how dare he use his divine sense to offend a true immortal? Immediately change your mindset and step out of the mansion. I don't know who it is, but hurry up and meet this immortal master with me. It's important to have proper etiquette. Qishan City. Under the sky. Is this the fairyland? Luya wore a wide black Taoist robe, tied in a bun on his head. After his divine consciousness spread through the city below, a clear question appeared on his face. Is this really the fairyland? His name is Luya. Earthlings. In the year 2005 of the Earth's Gregorian calendar, I accidentally crossed into the realm of cultivation and gained various adventures. I successfully overcame the most terrifying calamity in the history of cultivation and stepped into the gate of the immortal realm. I just didn't expect that the fairy world I came to be like this. He had noticed dozens of cultivators below the distant city and noticed himself, approaching towards his side. This is also the reason why he doubts whether this is actually the fairy world. Fairy world, shouldn't everyone be immortal? How come these people who come closer only have the highest cultivation level in the realm of crossing tribulations, and even in the cities below, most of them are just ordinary cultivators practicing qi? Is this really the fairyland? If it weren't for Luya being able to feel that his body had indeed completed the transformation into a golden body, in the process of becoming an immortal, he would have doubted whether he had not yet crossed the cycle of becoming an immortal and fallen into some illusions in the realm of the heavenly calamity. Perhaps asking this group of visitors can help clarify. He hasn't spoken yet. I will pay my respects to Master Zhenxian. After Jiang Danchen bowed, a large group of Qishan city cultivators behind him also bowed, looking at the tall young man in a black Taoist robe in front of him. You are all polite. Luya saw them bow and speak, and although these people were not of high cultivation, he also bowed back. At Xiaolu Cliff, there is a cultivator from the heavenly wilderness immortal realm who arrived here after crossing the tribulation and ascending. May I ask if this place belongs to the immortal realm? Jiang Danchen and a group of Qishan city cultivators were shocked and they heard the words spoken by Lu Yiku. They looked at each other. This person is actually a true immortal soaring up from below. How could this be possible? Even becoming an immortal in the immortal realm is extremely difficult nowadays, let alone in other realms where resources are even more scarce. If this person really came by leaps and bounds, that only indicates one thing: this is a rare, terrifying and arrogant figure even in the immortal realm. After all, Jiang Danchen was mature and quickly suppressed his shock. He bowed and said, I didn't expect it to be a senior who has flown up. Welcome senior to the Northern Han immortal realm. I am Jiang Danchen, the Lord of Qishan City in the Jingle Kingdom of the Northern Han immortal realm. This is indeed the immortal realm. Is it indeed the fairyland? Upon hearing this, Luya was slightly pleased. Immediately, he asked a question. Why is there no immortal in this immortal realm? Jiang Danchen nodded and said, returning to the senior generation, this place is indeed the immortal realm, but it is no longer the ancient immortal realm recorded in various realms, and now it is the post-immortal realm era. The post-immortal era. Jiang Danchen bowed again and said, Senior, the situation here is too complicated. If you don't give up, you can go to the mansion and wait for me to explain in detail. Lu Yi did not refuse. As a newcomer to the immortal realm, he should have a good understanding of it first. After a moment, Lu Yi followed Jiang Danchen to the residence of the Lord of Qishan City. Looking at the various decorations in the banquet, he said, so Jiang Daoyu is hosting a banquet, no wonder there are so many people here. Jiang Danchen felt embarrassed to say that this was a banquet to celebrate his breakthrough in crossing the tribulation realm, facing Luya, a genuine immortal. He just smiled awkwardly and said, "Senior, please don't give up. Please take your seat, and I will send someone to retrieve the immortal records about the immortal realm." "Thank you." After a moment, the maid in the mansion brought a large stack of immortal slips. Regarding this item, Luya was not unfamiliar with it. The most common one in the cultivation world was the jade slips, but she still took some care and protected her eyebrows with immortal power before sticking them on. Xian Jian has no hidden means, it's just that the information inside is too vast. After a moment, Luya finished reading more than 10 immortal slips, and his face had already shown a trance expression, muttering to himself. Since ancient times, all immortals and gods have died. How could this be so? Throughout history, all immortals and gods have died. This is the most shocking sentence recorded in the immortal bamboo slips provided by Jiang Danchen to Luya. Luya looked incredulously at all the immortal cultivators present. Isn't the immortal realm a place of eternal life? Immortals should exist with the same lifespan as heaven and earth. Why do all the immortals in the ancient immortal realm fall? Is it human or heavenly that causes all of this behind the scenes? Jiang Danchen shook his head silently and said, "No one can say for sure about this matter. I am just a young cultivator born in the post-immortal world era. I only know that the immortal world has been like this since the birth of my younger generation and those present here. The ancient immortal world and gods have become legends and divine words, but there are still records about the ancient immortal world. The ancient immortal realm was once the supreme place of all realms, with the 4 emperors and 3 ancestors sitting there, but even they have transformed into Tao. What is the current situation in the immortal realm?" Luya asked. Jiang Danchen poured a glass of spirit wine and presented it to Luya, then said, "The current fairy world was born on the basis of the ancient fairy world. After the disappearance of the ancient fairy world, the fairy world was left in ruins. It was more than 10,000 years ago that cultivators began to rise from the ruins of the ancient fairy world and rebuilt some fairy palaces and halls. After more than 10,000 years of development, according to the 36-day pattern of the fairy world in the past, the fairy world has now been transformed into 36 fairy domains. What we are currently in is the North Cold Fairy Domain. So what about the path of cultivation and promotion?" Luya asked himself the most concerning question. Jiang Danchen said, "Nowadays, in the immortal world, the path to seeking the Tao is still there, and even due to the fact that all immortals and gods have died, there are too many paths left. However, due to the scarcity of immortals, although some have reached the position of the true Lord of the Golden Immortal, they are still far from the realm of the Immortal Emperor and Taoist Ancestor in the ancient immortal world, which is as far as the heavenly abyss." New book seeking collection and investment support, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. Divine List. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Divine List, Jin Xian, Zhen Jun. Luya asked again, "When my Taoist friend met me, he called me Jin Xian. Is this the same as the Jin Xian Zhen Jun in your mouth, seeking the realm of Tao for the immortals in the immortal realm?" Senior Wise. Jiang Danchen flattered a little and then said, "In the ancient immortal world, the people who became immortals were divided into 5 parts. The first to become immortals was called the True Immortal Department, followed by the Heavenly Immortal Department, Golden Immortal Department, Tai Department, and Daoyuo Department. True Lord is a special fruit position among the Golden Immortals, who holds certain laws and principles. He is not only the Golden Immortal with boundless magical power, but also the true Lord who has obtained the positive fruit. That's true." Luya nodded and asked again, "As my Taoist friend said earlier, there aren't many immortals in the immortal realm nowadays. He also said that we are in the Jingle Kingdom of the Northern Cold Immortal Realm, but we don't know how many people in this Jingle Kingdom have the same Taoist power as me." Jiang Danchen said in detail, our Jingle Kingdom is located in the northern cold immortal domain and is also a great country. Among them, there are 8 true immortals scattered throughout the Jingle Kingdom. There is also a heavenly immortal level deity named Giant Spirit God, which is the largest deity in the Jingle Kingdom. Giant Spirit God. Lu Yamu is amazed. This god has been seen and heard of on earth before. Why did the ancient immortal world also have this god? Yes, the Giant Spirit God. This great god is also a powerful figure who rose in the post-immortal era. I heard that he found the Giant Spirit God path in the ancient immortal world, successfully cultivated it, and occupied that divine position. Now he is a genuine new Giant Spirit God. After another round of communication, Luya also gained a preliminary understanding of the immortal realm he had ascended to from the mouths of Xian Jian and Jiang Danchen. Wait for the banquet to end. Jiang Danchen bid farewell to his congratulatory friend and asked Luya. But I don't know what the senior has plans for next. Lu Yadao said, do you have any suggestions? Let me listen to them. Jiang Danchen said, then I dare to speak up. It's like a senior, if true immortals want to go further, besides asceticism, the most convenient way is to obtain a fruit position. A fruit position is equivalent to the great road left by a certain immortal god in the ancient immortal realm. If they have the chance to obtain a good fruit, they will save millions of years of asceticism. But this matter is uncertain. Just like this Jingle Kingdom, which is not smaller than a small country, only the Giant Spirit God has the chance to obtain this fruit position. However, it is said that a few years ago, in a domain outside the Jingle Kingdom, a Tai Su illusion realm appeared, which seems to be related to the ancient immortal realm, but whether there are ancient immortals hidden in it or not. The legacy of God is unknown. Tai Su fantasy realm. Luya repeated these 4 words. Think twice. In the past, when he was exploring in the cultivation world, he knew which ruins to open and had to prepare decades in advance. Then, he teamed up with 3 or 5 friends to explore the secret realm together. Now that I have just arrived at the immortal realm, I am still unfamiliar with everything and do not understand it. I rashly participate in the competition for the secret treasures of the great illusion realm, fearing more or less good luck. Jiang Danchen was seasoned and after some preparation, he cautiously probed and said. If the senior doesn't have a place to go at the moment, can I ask the senior to temporarily stay in Qishan City? During this period, I will provide everything necessary for the senior's daily cultivation. I only hope that the senior can give me some guidance on cultivation in his spare time. Luya is also an old monster who has been practicing for thousands of years. It's hard to see that Jiang Danchen's thoughts have finally been exposed, but it doesn't matter much. After thinking about it, he smiled slightly and said, then let's bother Jiang Daoyu. At the beginning of my ascension, the immortal element in my body still needs to be warmed up for a few years to stabilize the realm. As for cultivation, we should communicate with each other. Jiang Danchen was overjoyed and said, could you please give me more guidance in the future, senior? In this way, Luya temporarily settled in this Qishan city. As he said, on the one hand, the immortal element in his body really needs warmth and nourishment, and on the other hand, he is also taking the opportunity to understand the environment of the immortal world. The cave prepared by Jiang Danchen is also fully equipped. Luya sat among them, sighing in his heart, I thought that after practicing for half a life and finally becoming an immortal, I could be carefree in the immortal realm and not suffer from the pain of immortality. I didn't expect that even the immortals in the immortal realm would be unable to escape death. Now that I have arrived in this immortal realm, there is no trace of the immortal realm. It is just a larger cultivation realm. But helplessly, we can only accept all of this. Let's first learn more about this northern cold immortal domain and Jingle Kingdom, and then make the next plan. In a blink of an eye, 5 years have passed. This day, Luya was preaching scriptures to Jiang Danchen in the Lord's mansion. Within 5 years, He also discovered that some of the scriptures and classics in the immortal world that Jiang Danchen showed him were indeed much better than those in the cultivation world, which made him gain a lot. Jiang Danchen gained even more. There were 9 immortals in Jingle Kingdom, each of whom he could not befriend. Now, he finally had a true immortal senior who could explain to him the experience of crossing the tribulation realm, and his teachings on the land cliff were like a treasure. Suddenly, a weak voice swept across the entire Qishan city with a grand immortal power. This palace is Xuanzheni, the 3rd prince of Jingle Kingdom. The lord of this city should come and see me as soon as possible. Jiang Danchen's face changed and he said, "Our 3rd prince. His Highness Xuanzheni, how could he come to Qishan city?" In the garden, Lu Ye glanced at Jiang Danchen. During these 5 years, he also gained a basic understanding of the general situation within the territory of Jingle Kingdom. The country's ruler, Xian, and name seem to have been inherited from a certain kingdom in the ancient immortal realm. "I'll accompany you over and take a look," Lu Ye said. The 2 of them disappeared into the garden out of thin air, reappeared, and had already located themselves outside Qishan city. Under the city wall, there was a young man with blood and flesh blurred, dressed in a yellow immortal robe, draped in hair and barefoot, lying there. From a distance, Jiang Danchen felt the aura of the young man in the immortal robe and exclaimed in surprise, "It's really the aura of the Jingle Imperial clan. Senior, hurry up and treat him with me." Lu Ye looked at the young man who had fallen, but silently shook his head in his heart. This person's realm was almost immortal, and his injuries were extremely severe. It was only through a life-burning technique that he managed to survive until now, and he was afraid that he could not be saved. Now the other party only has 1 breath left, but they don't know why they called Jiang Danchen, the lord of Qishan city, over. They came to the young man. The young man's spirit was almost on the brink of collapse, his eyes were dull and numb, but a voice could be heard from a token on his body. "I am Xianjinye, the 3rd prince of Jingle Kingdom, and I have been pursued by the giant spirit god. I have used my life-burning technique here and my life has been burned out. I have ordered the lord of this city to quickly bring back the secret of my body and send it to the palace. I will have the opportunity to be reshaped and resurrected, and there will be a great reward at that time. I will appoint you as the king." "Stop speaking." This blood and flesh blurred young man, with a strong sense of death on his body, suddenly disappeared and fell to the ground, dying in front of 2 people. This. Jiang Danchen's face changed greatly. Not only was he moved by the death of the 3rd prince, but also by a last word he left behind. The giant spirit god. Surprisingly, these 3 princes were pursued and killed by the most powerful giant spirit god in their country. That's the only celestial being in our country. He is still the giant spirit god who embodies the true fruit of the ancient immortal gods. Jiang Danchen didn't know what to do, but his face turned pale as he looked at Lu Ye and said, "Senior, this matter is a bit difficult. If I help him, wouldn't I have to face the pursuit of the giant spirit god?" Just finished speaking. Boom. Lu Ye's expressionless fingers released an immortal flame, which landed on the 3rd prince of Jingle Kingdom, Xianjinye. With a buzzing sound, the body burned. Lu Ye said calmly, "Since it's a difficult situation, it's better to pretend there's no such thing." Watching this flame strike so decisively, Jiang Danchen's face changed and changed again. Is this the nature of the lower world's ascending beings? He took a long breath and said, "Thank you, Senior. There are a total of 9 immortals in Jingle Kingdom, and even with the help of the great cultivator of the true immortal realm, Lu Ye, to erase the traces, he can rest assured. Not afraid of being tracked. The 3rd prince has walked well all the way, resting in peace." Watching Xianjinye's body burn to ashes, he was casually waved by Lu Ye and scattered into the world. Jiang Danchen once again bowed to Lu Ye and the 2 of them returned to the mansion. After Lu Ye and others returned to their cave, their eyes flickered slightly, and they spread their hands in front of them, revealing a handful of flying ash in their hand. They exhaled a bit of immortal energy and blew away many ashes, revealing a speck of sand and dust that shimmered with a faint purple light. "This is a world of one sand, one world," he muttered to himself. "I just wanted to help Jiang Danshan get rid of a trouble, but I didn't expect that after I cremated Xianjianye, there was actually a small world left." It seems that he must have obtained some treasure before being chased by the giant spirit god Ceres. The thing that can make the strongest person in Jingle Kingdom spare no effort to pursue his own royal family should be in this small world. Let me see what it is. With a sweep of divine consciousness, the spirit delves into this world. The next moment, a list with 3 words written on it exploded like lightning in his heart. Seal. God. List. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Ancestral Master's Position, Seeking Collection Investment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Ancestral Master's Position, Seeking Collection Investment. This is. When Lu Ya's divine sense penetrated the world formed by this gravel, the 3 words that appeared on the list were truly function list. His divine sense trembled slightly. Although he had never heard of these 3 words during his thousands of years as a monk, they were well known in his past life on earth. Is this item really a divine title list? The list of deities, based solely on the memories from previous lifetimes on earth, is a sacred item of the heavenly way that governs and ennobles the gods of Luo Tian. All the people on the list are ranked in the immortal class and are in charge of one path. And in this familiar yet mysterious and unknown fairyland. What is the purpose of this object? Obviously, this is the thing that the 3rd Prince Xianjianye wanted someone to help him deliver to the Jingle Palace before his death. A flash of thought flashed in my heart. Lu Ya wanted to explore the root of this list. What is its magical use? A sweep of divine consciousness. Shi La. Like electricity, it illuminated this gravel world and pierced into the God sealing list like a divine spear. As soon as it entered, it saw a sky full of stars, with stars like stars, and it was under a starry sky. Under this starry sky, divine consciousness once again swept towards the nearest 10 or so stars. A series of divine names suddenly leap into my heart. Sanhua Immortal, True Immortal Department, Vacant Clergy, Fire Dragon Immortal, Immortal Department, Vacant Clergy, Wuzhangzhenren, True Immortal Sect, with vacant divine positions, Huazunzhenren, True Immortal Department, with vacant clergy. Seeing these divine titles, Lu Ya's heart seemed to flash with a bright electric light, and he couldn't believe it and guessed. That star symbolizes the position of the Sanhua Immortal, and that one is the Fire Dragon Immortal. There is no doubt that there are countless immortal fruits in this list of gods. Recalling what Jiang Danshan said. All the immortals and gods in the ancient immortal world have died, leaving only the position of the great path fruit to be preserved in the world. If one can obtain the position of the great path fruit left by a certain immortal god, it can save millions of years of hard work, replace the divine position, unite the world and become a new god in the post-immortal era. The first unparalleled giant spirit god in the kingdom of Jingle was the one who obtained the great spirit god avenue in the ancient immortal world, which became the true fruit. And in this list of gods, Lu Ya looked at the sky full of stars unimaginably. If a star represents an empty divine position, then there are tens of thousands of stars in the sky. Is it possible that I accidentally obtained the list of deities from the corpse of the 3 princes, Xianjianye? It is truly a list of deities from previous myths, and it is still an empty list before the deity was sealed. Is it really the one who hides the various celestial immortals' fruit positions? The list of gods' titles. As Jiang Danshan said, in today's immortal world, the position of immortal god fruit is a great opportunity that can be encountered but not sought after. The vast Jingle Kingdom is only achieved by the giant spirit god. If the guess is correct, there are thousands of great opportunities that appear to be obtained by the giant spirit gods in this list of gods. It's simply beyond description, even the vastness of nature. The calmness and rationality cultivated by thousands of years of cultivation in Luya are also characterized by intense emotional fluctuations. After a moment of calmness, his first thought was, where did the three princes, Xianjinye, obtain this precious treasure from? If it is truly a list of gods with various immortal fruit positions hidden, it is not an exaggeration to say that it is the top treasure in the immortal world. So what is Xianjinye? Is it not that the pursuit of the giant spirit god is also related to this? After thinking for a moment, put the idea on hold. Luya continued to scan towards the distant stars in the sky. The several immortal fruit positions on the star just now are the closest to him, and they are the immortals of the true immortal department. He ascended to the immortal realm and is now a true immortal, belonging to the same realm, so these few fruit positions are not uncommon. According to Jiang Danshan, true immortals are just the most basic immortals in the ancient immortal world, with a total of 5 immortal gods, including the heavenly immortal, golden immortal, Tai, and finally the great Luo. At this moment, Luya wants to see if there are any higher positions in the list of gods besides the true immortal fruit positions in the same realm as him, such as the heavenly immortal and golden immortal positions. That's the great opportunity. Looking towards the distant stars beyond the sky, they were like a revered deity, delivering the message of the divine name and fruit position to the Lu cliff. 6 Heavenly Mage, Heavenly Immortal Department, Vacant Priesthood, Tai Chi Left Immortal Lord, Heavenly Immortal Department, Vacant Clergy, Demon Subduing Marshal, Heavenly Immortal Department, Vacant Clergy, Deng Tianjun, Heavenly Immortal Sect, Vacant Clergy, Xin Tianjun, Heavenly Immortal Sect, Vacant Clergy, Duqian Great Spirit Officer, Heavenly Immortal Department, Vacant Clergy. The fruit position of the Heavenly Immortal Sect, which is higher than the true Immortal Sect, is indeed farther away. Luya's mood is stirred up, and if he can refine one of the fruit positions, he can become an ancient immortal of the Heavenly Immortal Sect. He tried to cover his divine consciousness towards one of the stars, hoping to experiment with refining magic treasures and tools. Unexpectedly, the divine sense only talked about the past, so you have no connection with this position. Luya was slightly stunned. No chance. Then continue to try towards the second celestial fruit star. The result is the same. You have no connection with this position. You have no connection with this position. You have no connection with this position. How is it judged that there is no chance? Luya frowned. Who is the person who is destined to experiment with so many fruits without any chance? If every fruit position is not destined for him, wouldn't it be that there are countless opportunities in the list of gods, and not a single one can be used? Looking at the stars in the sky, Luya doesn't believe in evil anymore. With so many great opportunities, he doesn't believe that there's none that suits him. So, he tirelessly experimented one by one, not even letting go of the fruit positions of the true immortal sect that were comparable to him. You have no connection with this position. You have no connection with this position. You have no connection with this position. One attempt at refinement after another, failed time and time again, and missed the path. Luya didn't know how many avenue stars he had tried. There are always thousands of them. He has already become dejected. But at this moment, under the cosmic chart of stars on this list of gods, suddenly, against the backdrop of endless darkness and depth of the universe, a grand star fiercely emitted light. This brilliant star, getting brighter and brighter, finally rose into the sky like a sun, directly illuminating this dark universe. Fruit position. Ancestral Heavenly Master, character level. Heavenly Immortal, current position. Vacant, you are destined to hold the position of Ancestral Heavenly Master and can be refined. Boom. In the next moment, I saw the great avenue star in the dark universe transform into an endless and brilliant brilliance, rushing down from the sky like a dragon and snake, pouring into the divine soul of the cliff. In an instant, Luya felt the vast and chaotic laws of the great road on his body. Further insight into the sea. A fiery red avenue star hung in his sea of consciousness. You are destined to hold the position of ancestral heavenly master and can be refining ceremony just as Lu Ya's mind was in contact with this heavenly immortal fruit position that had integrated into his own sea of consciousness. Mind warning. Inside the Qishan city cave, Lu Ya suddenly opened his eyes and felt a terrifying sense of oppression emanating from the sky above Qishan city. Boom! The entire Qishan city trembled in an instant, and thousands of people inside the city looked up at the sky in fear, only to feel that the sky was as dark as ink, and a divine power rolled across the boundless horizon like the sea. Who descended upon Qishan city with this majesty? Hundreds of thousands of living monks in the city trembled with fear. Inside the Lord's mansion, Jiang Danshan's face changed wildly. He walked out of the mansion. In the next moment, a figure outside the mansion appeared from far to near, as if pulling open an endless void and squeezing away the boundless airflow. From his perspective, he outlined a medium-sized man with a purple golden crown on his head and white temples. Are you? Seeing the middle-aged man suddenly standing in front of him, Jiang Danshan suddenly felt a boundless sense of oppression transmitted from the man in front of him. Standing in front of him, he felt like a small ant under a huge mountain peak. My surname is Qin. The visitor only briefly said 3 words and immediately looked at a direction inside the mansion with a smile on his face. Take my things and don't roll them out yet. End of this chapter. Where did chapter 4 go? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Where did chapter 4 go? Bang in the mansion of Qishan City Lord. The invisible pressure from this middle-aged man of medium stature made Jiang Danshan's knees weak, and he couldn't help but kneel down for the other person. Surname Qin. Jiang Danshan's heart trembled as he recognized the approaching existence. This person is a giant spirit god. In the kingdom of Jingle, the only one with such great power and surname Qin is giant spirit god. The person who came was actually the giant spirit god. Lu Ya remained calm and walked out of the cave, hearing Jiang Danshan's words. Did you find it so quickly? His heart skipped a beat, even though he understood that the function list was the reason why Xianjunye was being pursued, and it was the giant spirit god who was chasing him. He still didn't expect the other party to come so quickly. I immediately realized that there was a faint aura of a giant spirit god on the list of gods in my sleeve and robe. This. His thoughts flashed and he immediately thought of a possibility. Is it difficult? Yes. It seems to have confirmed his idea through verification. Originally, he was a lower realm cultivator who had ascended to immortality. In the current context of various realms, he could still ascend to immortality. It seems that there is a great opportunity for him to merge strange paths into one fruit position. The middle-aged man, dressed in a dark gold robe and wearing a purple gold crown, looked down at the cliff with his hands down and calmly spoke. I was planning to let Xianjunye, the little ghost, breathe a sigh of relief and let him take that matter to the palace to see if his Jingle Kingdom was truly the place where the demon ancestor of the ancient immortal world became a monk. If not, we can choose people who are compatible with the path according to the size of Jingle Kingdom. Unexpectedly, encountering your unexpected joy, I snatched that thing halfway. Although you only achieved the level of the heavenly immortal fruit, you were not bad either. Swallowing you and refining this fruit level is enough for me to be promoted to the true Lord and gain another path. Hula Lu Ya's clothes were also hunting under the invisible pressure of the other party, but in his heart, he was like a lightning spark analyzing the inside information from the other party's intentions and words, calmly staring at the other party. Originally, you had already obtained it, but it was not destined for any fruit position, so you treated it as a trap to lure the truly destined person. So the spirit god left a mark on that thing. As long as someone successfully gets the chance, he can come upon hearing the news, using the abacus of the yellow sparrow behind. The ascending beings in the lower realm are actually intelligent, no wonder they can ascend to immortality. The giant spirit had an expressionless expression on his face, holding his hand in place and calmly saying, But you think leaving a phantom here to pretend and delay the escape of your true body can hide my eyes? The moment the language falls. Standing in front of the giant spirit god, Luya suddenly felt like he had been hit hard, and his entire body exploded between heaven and earth. One more moment. The place where he used to be is subject to changes in time and space. Another cliff, as if pulled by a powerful void, reappeared in that position. The newly emerged Luya's face underwent a dramatic change. Originally, according to the habit developed by Luya's thousands of years of cultivation, he had already used the method of escaping and left at the moment when the giant spirit god arrived. And deliberately left a phantom clone in Chishan City, deliberately delaying time here. This Taoist art is his masterpiece in the world of cultivating immortals in the wilderness. It often goes against all odds, but unexpectedly, in an instant, he was not only exposed to the illusion. Even though he had escaped millions of miles, he was instantly pulled back by the inexplicable force of space. What means is this? This is. Only the city lord Jiang Danshan seemed to understand something and looked up at the faint sky above Chishan City, then looked at the middle-aged man in front of him in despair. In the realm of caves, it was the giant deity who covered our Chishan City with his own cave. Now that everyone in Chishan City is in his cave, it's like entering his five-finger mountain, and it's impossible for him to escape. He had already understood something from the conversation between Luya and the giant spirit god. That Xianjinye is indeed a big trouble. He originally wanted to get rid of this trouble, but now he has become even more involved. Looking at Jiang Danshan's desperate attitude, the giant spirit god gave a faint smile and said, "Local city lord, you don't have to be afraid. The list of gods is not in your hands, and you don't have such a great fate to be recognized by a fruit position. Of course, I won't take your life, but you also know about this. Therefore, in the future, you and all the people in Chishan City should be the subjects of this god's cave. Let's stop talking." Jiang Danshan looked up and saw the sky, clouds, mountains, and earth on all sides of his head contracting violently. At this moment, if someone looks from the land of the immortal realm, they will find that a piece of land in the Jingle Kingdom of the northern cold immortal domain has disappeared out of thin air from the land. Obviously, everything was collected by the giant spirit god in his own cave. Then, he extended one hand. Directly grabbed towards the body of the cliff. Luya instinctively offered his immortal arrow, which he had been practicing for more than 3,000 years, but before he could pull the bow, he heard the sound of his immortal weapon cracking under the big hand of the giant spirit god. The immortal arrow broke. He was in a sad mood and didn't expect that the ultimate goal of achieving immortality would be to die young here. Gabung, the giant spirit god's big hand, grabbed Luya, and the inscriptions on the function list were also extracted inch by inch from him. He looked at the column of Ancestral Heavenly Master on the list of gods, and it suddenly lit up. This child has actually obtained the fruit position of the Ancestral Heavenly Master, which is not bad. The Ancestral Heavenly Master is also among the top fruit positions in the Heavenly Immortal department, and is also the first of the 4 great Heavenly Masters. When I refine this child and seize his opportunity, I will have the 2 major Heavenly Immortal fruit positions of the Giant Spirit God and Ancestral Heavenly Master. With the addition of 3, I can merge and refine them into a golden immortal fruit position that can be promoted to the True Lord. At this moment, the giant spirit god did not know. At the same time as he withdrew from the list of gods, Luya received a message from the function list in his heart. That is an unfinished message that continues to flow in my heart at this moment. Fruit position. Ancestral Heavenly Master, character level. Heavenly Immortal, former Wei Gu. Zhang Daoling, deceased, current position. Empty and unmanned, can refine void combining Dao, origin of the position. Zhang Daoling self-cultivated it. Refining method. Manifest the Holy Spirit in the mother realm of Zhang Daoling, transform oneself into the ancestral heavenly master, and complete 3 reef-breaking spells in sequence to refine this fruit position event 1 of transformation. Within 3 years, the Great Dan was refined and the Great Dan was formed. A grand ceremony was held with at least 100,000 people participating. Under the gaze of 100,000 people during the ceremony, the Tianchi San Wuyang Pingji Du Gong Yin was refined and the first reef was completed. Event 2 of Transformation and Performance. Establishing Taoism, unifying 10,000, establishing 20.4 rulers of the world, and finally holding a grand ceremony. With the attention of at least 10 million people or believers during the ceremony, the Heavenly Master's Righteous Alliance Talisman was refined and the second battle was completed. Event 3 of Transformation. After the establishment of Taoism, the first step is to sweep away the obscene temples and evil spirits. The first step is to sweep away at least 6 major demon gods and ghost kings. Finally, on the battlefield where the last demon god and ghost king was swept away, a reef battle is held to refine the Heavenly Master 3 to 5 slaying demon and male swords, and complete the third reef battle. Lu Ya's confusion flashed in his eyes, followed by a bitter smile. He was about to be swallowed and taken away by the giant spirit god. What's the use of letting himself know at this moment? Unexpectedly, there is a faint and vast voice of prayer and supplication transmitted from the list of gods and the fruit of the Tao. In ancient times, there was a rupture, and during the end of the Dharma era, the Tao meridian declined. The 64th generation disciple Zhang Ziren begged his ancestor, the Heavenly Master. If you have a spirit in heaven, quickly descend to earth to save us from the suffering of the spirit, and revive the power of our Tao sect. Inheritor of the position of ancestral Heavenly Master, you have heard the plea of a disciple from Zhang Daoling's mother realm, that you can transform Zhang Tianchi into the mortal world and become a saint. After returning from various tribulations, you will be listed as an immortal in the name of Zhang Tianchi. Lu Ya, who was held in his hand by the giant spirit god, suddenly fell into emptiness and closed his eyes after a moment of confusion. The spirit god did not notice the change in this moment. Because at this moment, he suddenly felt a strong breath coming from all directions, like a huge wave covering the sky. Giant spirit god, are you bold? Do you dare to kill my crown prince? Endless killing intent seems to be carrying the power of millions of heavenly soldiers and generals, rushing towards them. Oh! Emperor Xuanhua has also arrived, just in time. Let me see if your Jingle royal family has inherited the bloodline and inheritance of the Ancient One. If so, then I can also obtain the position of Zhenwu Yuxingzhenjuan. The giant spirit god looked up, his voice was calm, and there was also any killing intent or malice, as if everything was being grasped and calculated. Emperor Xuanhua. Jiang Danshan's heart trembled in Qishan City. This is the name of the Emperor of Jingle Kingdom. Outside the cave, there is a plain. In the distance of the giant spirit god's gaze, there is a large army of Jingle Kingdom surrounded by thousands of troops and horses, stretching for thousands of miles, with flags covering the sky. During hunting, the sound of war drums exploding like thunder can be heard in the sky and earth. But at this moment, his face changed slightly, and he saw that within his body, the soaring fairy bound there seemed to have escaped from his divine soul, leaving only an empty shell. Where did he go? End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Travel. Descending to the mortal world. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Travel. Descending to the mortal world. Inheritor of the position of ancestral Heavenly Master, you have heard the plea of the disciple grandson from Zhang Daoling's mother realm, who can transform into Zhang Tianchi and become a saint in the mortal world. After returning from various tribulations, you will be ranked as an immortal class under the name of Zhang Tianchi. When Lu Ya felt the message conveyed from the list of gods, it seemed like a stream of light exploded in his heart. In a daze, he seemed to have been stripped of his divine soul by the dazzling power transmitted from the list of deities. Looking ahead, I saw that it was the boundless black background of the universe, in which there were bubble-sized light dots of different sizes shining. These tiny bubbles are like the stars in the dark night sky. Lu Yif seemed to be pulled by a huge force and rushed towards one of the bubble stars. Only when he got closer did he see clearly that these endless dots of light and bubbles were actually bubbles of the world's planes. As he approached one of the world bubbles closer and closer, a voice of prayer and prayer became clearer, which was transmitted from that world. The voice is old and weak. Master Zhu, if you have a spirit in heaven, please descend to the mortal world to save our sect. Earth. In the intensive care unit of the Second People's Hospital of Goto City, Chuanjiang Province. Zhang has reached the brink of death, with only one last breath left. As the 64th generation master of the Longhu Temple in contemporary Taoism, the Zhang family was originally inherited from the Tianshi family of the ancient Zhang family. However, in modern times, during the end of the Dharma period, spiritual energy was not present, and various teachings emerged in response to the times. The Longhu Temple, which was originally the orthodox form of Taoism, has instead fallen into a small and inferior Jiuliu temple. A few hundred years ago, the Heavenly Master family, which was once one of the two major families in the north and south, surprisingly only 2 or 3 people surnamed Zhang remain in this generation. Pursuing immortality through cultivation has long become an elusive lie. Except for him, the elder brother of the Heavenly Master family had already returned to secular life and was not a Taoist. Only he persisted in inheriting the Longhu Temple. Although there was only one Taoist left in the Longhu Temple, he also wanted to protect the lineage of his ancestor, the Heavenly Master, and pass it down. Since inheriting the Dragon and Tiger Temple at the age of 17, it has been more than a decade now. Although the Dragon and Tiger Temple has been preserved, sadly, he is still the only one who has upheld it. Now, he is going to die even more. Zhang Tianran's murky eyes stared at the bright white ceiling, shedding a line of old tears. Zhu Tian, sure, the disciples are incompetent, but they have done their best. His death. This will also mean that the inheritance of the Dragon and Tiger Temple will be cut off from now on, and there will be no successors. The ancestral lineage of the Heavenly Master has completely lost its descendants. Zhang Ziran's eyelids are getting heavier and heavier. In a daze, he heard the voice of a nurse in the intensive care unit. The heart rate has disappeared, and the person with cerebral hemorrhage is walking so fast. Notify the family. In the moment when his consciousness finally dissipated, Zhang Ziran saw in his mind a burly Taoist wearing a big red Taoist robe, wielding a sword and riding a tiger. Zhu Tianshi. Did you come to pick up the disciples? What? Has the patient's heart rate recovered again? And all functions are also being restored. How could this be? He's having a cerebral hemorrhage. No mistake, although still unconscious, there is no danger to life anymore. This is simply a medical miracle. Observe for a few days first, then transfer to a regular ward. By the way, notify the family members to pay the hospitalization and treatment fees. He was sent to the hospital by the public, and we are still trying to contact his family. Found it, he also has a nephew named Zhang Xiaoguo. Hello, are you Zhang Xiaoguo? This is the Second People's Hospital of Green Vine City. Your uncle Zhang Ziran has been treated and rescued in our hospital. We are now notifying you to come to the hospital to pay the fee. The general ward of the Second People's Hospital of Goto City. On the windowsill, there are several pots of green apple leaves that glow slightly under the sunlight. The patient's various indicators have returned to normal. It's really a miracle. It seems that the awakening has been in the past 1 or 2 days. By the way, his nephew will arrive soon. Who is talking? Lu Yif seemed to hear the voice of a young woman speaking beside him, with unfamiliar yet familiar language. Is this Mandarin? Mandarin. Lu Yif suddenly opened his eyes, and his blurred vision gradually became clear. He saw a young woman dressed in white clothes and a white hat staring at him, surprised and saying, "You're awake, I'll go notify the doctor to come and have you checked." After a while, Luya watched as several people wearing white coats approached him and asked him questions. He closed his eyes. I gradually confirmed something from the other person's questioning voice. This is no longer the fairyland. It's the list of deities. He opened his eyes again and understood everything in his heart. This is Zhang Tianqi's mother realm, which was sent to me by the Fengshen list with the purpose of preaching and refining Zhang Tianqi's fruit position. It seems that I have temporarily escaped from the hands of the giant spirit god. At this point, he heard the doctor next to him shake his head and say, "A person has come to life, but due to cerebral hemorrhage causing damage to the brain nerves, there seems to be some amnesia and sensory disorders. He doesn't answer when we talk, so let his family come in and take a look later." Luya glanced at the doctor. Watching the other person walk out. Looking down at my palm again. It's not my body, it's my primordial spirit occupying this body. The original owner of the body should be the voice I heard in the immortal world, Zhang Ziren, the 64th generation disciple of Master Zhang. Looking back at the window, I projected my current appearance, with a thin face and a look of 30.4 to 5 years old. Due to a bun, I had long hair that was draped over my shoulders, with a slightly black beard on my lips and a 3-inch short beard under my jaw. Judging from my appearance, I exuded a bit of a fairy-like demeanor. This body has no cultivation. Luya clenched his fist and the primordial spirit felt the heaven and earth. There is no spiritual energy between heaven and earth, no wonder the prayer voice says this is the end of the Dharma era. Oh, this is. His eyes gleamed faintly, looking towards the void that ordinary people cannot see. Although there is no spiritual energy, there are many Dharma rhymes. What's going on? Fayun is the flow of rules that can form spells. Bang 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 bang. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. After knocking, a young man wearing a black hoodie and glasses silently walked in and saw Luya sitting on the bed. He politely said, "Uncle Heir, I'm Xiaoguo. I came to see you." Xiaoguo. Luya recited the name and said, "Are you also a Taoist?" The ancestral lineage is inherited by the Zhang surname. Since the other party is Zhang Ziren's nephew, he should also be a Taoist. Taoist. Zhang Xiaoguo hesitated for a moment and said, "Second uncle, you forgot that my father was no longer a Taoist. You are the only one in the family who is a Taoist." He saw Luya's bewildered and contemplative expression, thinking of the doctor's words just now, and then said, "Second uncle, the doctor said you have neurological problems, amnesia, and occasional mental confusion." Luya was slightly stunned. He had thought that if the person who had passed through time and reborn was a Taoist family, it would be easier to achieve those 3 rituals. Unexpectedly, only he was a Taoist. No wonder Zhang Ziren said in his prayer that his pulse was weak. The ancestral lineage of the Heavenly Master has only one Taoist successor left, which is too insignificant. Think of the 3 conditions for refining the void combining Tao. Luya sighed. Since this identity is of no use at all, there is no need to impersonate him for any help, let's just be ourselves. This Zhang Xiaoguo can be considered as an apprentice to teach him 1 or 2 Dharma methods. Consider it as a reward for borrowing his uncle's body. So, Luya said to him, "Little friend, your second uncle has already died. I am a fairy who descended to earth in response to your second uncle's prayer before his death. I borrowed his physical body, which is the ancestral celestial master worshipped by your Zhang family for generations. Since you are a descendant of my celestial master, are you willing to follow me to cultivate immortality? One of the 3 reef-breaking rituals is to establish Taoism again, set up 20.4 governance systems, and gather millions of people to hold a grand ceremony, with no one doing much." Zhang Xiaoguo's face remained calm and he said, "It seems that the doctor is right. Uncle, your mental health is very serious." End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Poor Tao is immortal. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Poor Tao is immortal. In the quiet ward, the smell of disinfectant is very strong. The two people looked at each other with eyes. Do you not believe that I am immortal, or do you not believe that I am not your second uncle? It's not a question of whether you believe it or not. It seems that we need to show you the efficacy of the poor path. Uncle Heir, please rest well. Zhang Xiaogua shook his head in his heart. When his family heard that Uncle Heir had a car accident and suffered from cerebral hemorrhage, they almost concluded that Uncle Heir could not survive. Unexpectedly, in the end, he miraculously came back to life. It's a good thing for people to come back to life, but now there's a mental problem. My parents have always had objections to my second uncle, and this time they are even unwilling to come and pay for his medical expenses. Zhang Xiaogua still couldn't bear it with his conscience. He kept thinking about how his second uncle treated him when he was a child, so he rushed over from the neighboring province with some of the money he had saved up. If my family knew that my second uncle had mental problems now, my parents would probably be even less willing to take responsibility. This is mainly because second uncle often borrows money from home to repair that small dilapidated Taoist temple. At first, his parents would also lend money to second uncle, borrowing over 100,000 yuan in total. However, second uncle only borrows and cannot repay it, mainly because he has no ability to repay it. Later on, the family was unwilling to pay a single penny, and their relationship became increasingly strained. Uncle Heir, the money I brought over this time is not enough. Your surgery and treatment expenses, or the money I borrowed from my classmates, can only make up for it. I know you still don't believe that I am a fairy. I don't have any money left. You can't stay in the hospital anymore. We need to move out and live there. Although there is no spiritual energy in this world, there is a magical charm. The immortal consciousness of the poor is still present. Just a slight touch of the magical charm between heaven and earth can turn spells that require spiritual energy into spells. Alright, let's pack up. Keep an eye on the boy. This is called the Yu Wu mantra, which I just deduced based on the Yu Wu technique. It can be used to control objects from afar. Lu Ya's face was calm, and he reached out his right hand, weakly gripping a water cup on the table 5 meters away. Get up. 5 meters away. On the table, the water cup remained motionless. 4 eyes facing each other. Lu Ya was taken aback for a moment, pondered for a moment, and muttered to himself, perhaps it was a temporary self-created spell that was somewhat inexperienced. So, let's use the 5 Thunder Talisman. This is a natural divine power of the poor path, which can be used after using the divine soul to hook the laws of heaven and earth. It can be used to summon wind and rain, summon thunder and electricity, and is very familiar and useful. Take a look. As he spoke, he casually tore off a white sheet from the hospital bed. Stop making trouble, Zhang Xiaogua said with a black line on his forehead. Lu Ya used his fingers to draw a few strokes on the white cloth strip, then paused for a while and asked, little friend, what time is it now? Finally asked a normal person's question. Zhang Xiaogua stared at the torn sheets and answered helplessly, in the morning, it's probably 8:30. That's the hour of the hour, Lu Ya said calmly. Look, when I burn these 5 thunder mantra, I will call for the clouds to be set outside at the hour of the hour. Thunder will occur at noon, and rain will fall before the hour of the hour. By the end of the rain at the hour of the hour of the hour, a total of 3 inches and 40 points of rain will be obtained. At that time, you will know my efficacy. I don't understand, Zhang Xiaogua said with a black face. He only knows that he needs to pay for the hospital bed sheets. Lu Ya calmly said, Chenshur is from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., Sishi is from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. Noon is from 11 p.m. to 13 p.m. Weishur is from 13 p.m. to 15 p.m. Shenshur is from 15 p.m. to 17 p.m. As long as I burn this spell, the wind and clouds will surge outside in half an hour, thunder and electricity will sound in 2 hours, heavy rain will pour in 4 hours, and finally it will clear up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The amount of rainfall. Let me think, in your world, it would be 104 millimeters of rainfall in 2 hours. Zhang Xiaoguo said expressionlessly, after being discharged from the hospital, I can take you back to Daoguan. Although it's a bit small and broken, you still have a vegetable garden where you can grow and harvest your own food, and you can't starve yourself. I will often go to see you then. Now, I'll go and handle the discharge procedures. Wait for me here, don't run around. After speaking, he put the things he had packed under the bed. Turn around and leave the ward. Luya watched as his nephew walked out of the ward and immediately turned to the talisman he had drawn in his hand. Look out the window. Early in the morning, the blue sky and white clouds, cicadas chirping making people noise, sunlight seeping through the cracks in the leaves, and there are already some heat waves. This is a nice day. After completing the discharge procedures, Zhang Xiaoguo felt both confused and heavy for a moment. After all, he is just a newly graduated college student. The relationship between parents and second uncle is so bad that even if second uncle is critically ill, they do not plan to come and visit. They are also ready at home to collect the body for Uncle Air. Unexpectedly, Uncle Air has come back to life again, and what's worse is that he has become mentally ill. If parents don't care, how much ability does one have alone? Take a deep breath. I still decided to give my parents a call. Standing in the hallway of the hospital, after dialing the number. Mom, I'm in the hospital right now. Regarding Uncle Air's situation, I've come to my senses now, it's just my mental state. After explaining the situation, there was a noticeable silence on the phone for a while. Then he said, You're right next to him now, right? Then take care of him first and try to persuade him during the process. What do you advise? Persuaded him to agree to the renovation and demolition of the Longhu Temple scenic area. As long as he is willing to renovate and demolish the Longhu Temple, we will take him home. I will take care of him when he eats, drinks, and our family can be completely transformed. Whether you get married or work in the future, you don't have to worry. Dismantle the Dragon and Tiger Temple. Mom, the Taoist temple is inherited by my second uncle. After hesitating, Zhang Xiaoguo replied, I can't persuade him to demolish it, and it's also an ancestral house left by our ancestors. I can't do such a thing. The other side of the phone said. Mom, if your second uncle is willing to agree to the renovation and demolition of Longhu Temple, it won't be a problem for our family to provide him with elderly care. If he goes crazy, I can take care of him. If he doesn't want to, then it's not our fault for being unfriendly. Anyway, if you feel sorry for him, take care of him yourself first. The family won't pay a penny, and this money will be kept for you to use for your future marriage and house. Mom is responsible for your future. Do. The phone hung up. Zhang Xiaoguo closed his phone. Longhu Temple is located on Hemming Mountain, which has now become a Taoist tourist attraction managed by a cultural and tourism company. A few years ago, they completed the planning and construction of Hemming Mountain, but they still cannot avoid Longhu Temple. Nowadays, the Hemming Mountain scenic area has been fully built, but the Dragon and Tiger Temple has not been demolished, to the point where one occupies an important position among various majestic palace communities, but is only a few dilapidated small courtyards of tiled houses, like a pair of dog skin ointment on exquisite Chinese paintings. Unable to persuade the family, Zhang Xiaoguo let out a sigh of helplessness. Now it seems that he can only do his best to take care of Uncle Air first, hoping that Uncle Air's mental condition is only a temporary problem. Fairy. It's raining. He shook his head when he thought of the second uncle's drawing and saying that it could make the wind rise and the clouds rise outside and thunder rainstorm. Cultivate immortality, cultivate immortality. After reading the immortal legend for a lifetime and practicing for a lifetime, no wonder you have developed such hysteria. Stepping out of the hospital staircase, I went to complete the discharge procedures. Glancing at the electronic time on the wall of the hospital lobby. 08:59.18 at noon, the wind rises and the clouds surge, and at 9 o'clock, the wind rises. Zhang Xiaogua stared at him for 2 or 3 seconds, then suddenly looked at the sunlight outside the hospital gate. It was so bright, and the sky was also so blue. He self-deprecatingly said. I'm also sick. I thought about it seriously just now. If it were really nerve-wracking, today is such a nice day. After completing the procedures. Then walk towards the elevator entrance. Zhang Xiaogua walked to the elevator entrance, which happened to reach the first floor. Uncle Air's ward was on the 6th floor. He made way for the elevator entrance and waited for others to come down. Finally, after the people in the elevator had finished walking, he walked into the elevator pressing the button on the 6th floor. As the elevator door was about to close, he noticed that the electronic screen time in the lobby was 08:59.59. Skip the last second, morning time, exactly 9 o'clock. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Transformation, Reefing, and the Three Treasures of Celestial Masters. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Transformation, Reefing, and the Three Treasures of Celestial Masters. The wind is rising. Just as the elevator door closed, Zhang Xiaogua couldn't see. Outside the hospital gate, dust and paper flew up from the street, and then the green trees on the road shook violently. When Zhang Xiaogua arrived at the 6th floor and walked out of the elevator, he heard the surprised voices of the duty nurse and some patients. The wind was so strong for no reason, and the sky suddenly turned black. The weather is really strange. A few minutes ago, it was still sunny and clear with white clouds. Zhang Xiaogua was stunned at the elevator entrance. In the next moment, his face changed slightly and he quickly walked towards Lu Ya's ward. He broke in and suddenly a strong wind blew in from the open window. Who? The strong wind blew the curtains fluttering like flags towards the room, and the sheets were blown up with a crackling sound. Dust and mist, accompanied by some burning ashes, were carried by the wind as Zhang Xiaogua opened the door. In a hurry, he was squinted and quickly reached out his sleeve to block his eyes. He quickly closed the door to the sick room and said, "Uncle, why didn't you close the window when the wind was so strong?" He rubbed his eyes that had been blown into dust by the wind, and as he walked to the window, he was about to close them. Outside. The entire city was swept up in strong winds, with sand and dust blocking the view of pedestrians on the roads. The wind made people's clothes hunt and sound, and white plastic bags and leaves rolled up and down in the sky, swaying back and forth in an unknown direction by the wind. Woo 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 woo. The wind sounds like someone is blowing an ugly sun, which is hoarse and sharp. At the same time, it is mixed with the noisy angry scolding and screaming of people in the street, all of which are complaining about roast and abusing the evil wind ghost weather for no reason. 1 or 2 seconds later, Zhang Xiaogua struggled to close the window, finally gasping for breath. He turned to look at the dirty and messy ward that had been blown by the wind, and also saw the black and gray ashes on the ground where the fabric had been burned. Zhang Xiaogua complained, "Why are you really ordering things in the hospital? What should you do if there is a fire?" "I haven't finished speaking yet." He saw the other person lying in bed, looking out the window with his head tilted, his face calm, as if appreciating something. Zhang Xiaogua said in a strange tone, "Do you think this wind was summoned by you? It's just a coincidence." Although he also felt that the wind was a bit strange, it suddenly came, inexplicable, with some unbelievable elements. But immortals. Spells, it's completely impossible. Phone, it got up at exactly 9 o'clock. In response, Lu Ya's faint smile lay on the hospital bed. "Do you remember the function of the 5 thunder talisman that I mentioned?" Zhang Xiaogua's eyes lit up. Starting from 9 o'clock, there will be strong winds and clouds, lightning and thunder at 11 o'clock, and pouring rain at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. He turned his head and looked at the sky outside the window. Sure enough, clouds had already covered the sky, making the overall brightness of the city dim. The neon lights and tall buildings across from the hospital gradually became blurred. It's really dark clouds. Zhang Xiaogua looked incredulously at the gray sky outside the window, with clouds hanging low. How could there be such a large area of dark clouds in today's weather? He immediately took out his phone and looked at today's weather forecast, only to see that it was still sunny, a symbol of the big sun. However, the sky above Green Vine City is shrouded in dark clouds. In the ward. Watching Zhang Xiaogua daydream outside the window, he stopped talking for a while. Luya looked out the window, also thinking about the background of being sent down from this mortal world by the function list. It is because I have a connection with the fruit position of the ancestral heavenly master that I am able to refine it. According to the refining conditions and methods listed on the list of gods. Luya's own speculation is roughly based on this logic. The fruit position of the ancestral heavenly master was self-cultivated by Zhang Daoling, containing the great path of the ancestral heavenly master Zhang Daoling. However, in the ancient immortal world, all immortals and gods died, and Zhang Daoling was no exception. So, among the so-called fruit positions, only the most primitive laws of the Tao remain. If you want to inherit the principles of the Tao in this fruit position. As stated in the function list, he transformed into Zhang Tianshi and entered this world, achieving great success and ranking among the immortal classes. Transformation. Decompose these two words. Transformation is the embodiment, transformation, and transformation. Acting is acting, and deducing. The words are as they mean. It means to incarnate and play the role of Grandmaster. Since it is the transformation of the ancestral heavenly master, it is necessary to follow the actions of the ancestral heavenly master and incarnate into the ancestral heavenly master, re-replicating the story of the ancestral heavenly master before becoming immortal. So there were the three major sacrificial ceremonies on the list of deities. Dan Chenglong Tiger Present, Jingyi Weimeng, Governance of the World, Destroying Mountains and Temples, Sweeping for 6 days, these are all the paths and merits that Zhu Tianshi walked before becoming an immortal. If Luya wants to transform into the ancestor heavenly master, he must also follow this template and go through this world once. This is the first step in refining the patriarch heavenly master. Act like, act truly, act to the point where heaven and earth believe, act to the point where the Tao results in belief, act the Tao with oneself, transform the Tao with oneself, and merge the Tao with oneself. The second is to hit reefs. De Jiao, also known as Zhai Jiao, or can be called Kui, Fa Shi, Dao Chang. It is a kind of sacrificial ceremony, usually used to worship heaven and earth, gods, the Great Way, and so on. For each important performance event, such as Dancing Dragon and Tiger Present, it is necessary to build a reef and hold a sacrificial ceremony. The sacrifice is for the Tao. Obtaining recognition of the fruit position in the ceremony is the third key to truly refining the fruit position of the Patriarch Heavenly Master. These three are the three treasures of the Heavenly Master in the Tao fruit. Now lying quietly in the sea of land cliffs, three treasures together form the fruit position of our ancestor, namely the Heavenly Master Yang Ping Ji Du Gong Yin, Heavenly Master Jingyi Wei Meng Fu Lu, and Heavenly Master 3.5 slaying evil male and female swords. Only by completely refining the Heavenly Master seal, Heavenly Master talisman, and Heavenly Master sword in this mind fruit position can it be considered as fully refining the Heavenly Master fruit position and embarking on the path of immortality. And their refinement, taking the Heavenly Master seal as an example, requires a grand ceremony with at least 100,000 people participating after the completion of the transformation performance of Dancheng, Longhu Xian. Only under the gaze of 100,000 people during the ceremony can the Heavenly Master Yang Pingji Capital Merit Seal be refined. Dan Chenglong and Hu Xian. Luya thought about the first crucial step in his mind, how to portray the scene of Dan Cheng Long Hu Xian, just like a traditional Chinese opera. If he wanted to play it, he needed to first have the plot of the original play. Zhu Tianzhi's Dan Cheng Long Hu Xian, he knew in his past life that it was probably the origin of the name of Dragon and Tiger Mountain, but the specific details, and what since my body is the master of the Dragon and Tiger Temple, there must be relevant records in that temple. Thoughtful thoughts abound. Time passes unnoticed. Suddenly, a dazzling and bright silver snake tore open most of the sky outside the window, and after exploding, it turned into a huge lightning bolt like winding tree roots. Boom! Immediately afterwards, I heard the terrifying sound of thunderous explosions. Luya admires the thunder and lightning. But I heard Zhang Xiaogua, the cheap nephew in front of the hospital bed, exclaim in disbelief, "This must be a coincidence, it's a coincidence." Luya squinted his eyes and looked around. Zhang Xiaogua stood in front of the window, holding his phone in his hand, but his hand was trembling. His face turned pale as he watched the lightning and thunder outside the window, while also staring at the time on his phone. At this moment, the time on my phone is stuck at exactly 11 o'clock in the morning. It's really windy at 9 o'clock and thunderous at 11 o'clock. Zhang Xiaogua turned around and looked at his second uncle in horror. The first time can still be said to be a coincidence. But the second time, it still appeared on time. This is the natural weather of heaven and earth, who can control and create it. Is it just because at this moment, the burnt sheet cloth in the room was casually drawn on it, causing the entire city of Green Vine to appear? At least 6 or 7 levels of strong winds, illuminating the thunder and lightning of the entire city, let the sunny day turn into the current weather. Impossible, this strange thing can't be true. Impossible, where is there any immortal in the world? Zhang Xiaogua's lips were trembling and his words were incoherent. He held his phone and held his head, his pupils reflecting lightning and dark clouds from outside, as well as the precise time on his phone, which challenged his values as a normal college student. If you see less, then you will wonder more, which is the norm of the world. At this moment, only the voice of the second uncle on the bed echoed softly in this room. If in the future you follow the poor path and become accustomed to the ordinary, then naturally you won't be surprised. Is this something that can be explained by, rarely seen but often strange. Zhang Xiaogua murmured to himself, still unwilling to believe it, until I stayed in the hospital bed until the afternoon. He saw it. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it rained heavily on time, covering the entire city with a rain curtain that penetrated the sky and landed on the ground. Finally, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the wind stopped, the rain stopped, and the lightning stopped. The air in the entire city of Green Vine became much clearer in the evening. Information queried on mobile phone. Warm reminder, dear citizens of Luftang, in the afternoon, a rainstorm suddenly fell in Binjiang district, with the rainfall reaching 104 millimeters in 2 hours, and the temperature suddenly dropped. Remind citizens to wear coats when traveling to prevent colds. After reading the news, Zhang Xiaogua's body softened and he no longer had any luck. He had to admit I either saw a ghost or really encountered a fairy. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Ancient Era of Fractures. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The Ancient Era of Fractures. Zhang Xiaogua had to admit that he had indeed encountered a supernatural event. And the owner of the incident is still his family. He collapsed into a chair, his face flustered, and looked at the second uncle in front of him. Second uncle, are you really a fairy? I have said that your second uncle has already died. Lu Yidao said, I came in response to his prayers before his death. Your ancestor, Zhang Daoling, you can also call me grandfather or grandfather. Since we want to portray our ancestor as the heavenly master, we naturally need to immerse ourselves in the play. Let's start treating ourselves completely like Zhang Daoling from now on. What? Zhang Xiaogua's lips parted and his voice was weak, still carrying an incredible tone. So you are the ancestor of our Zhang family, the true immortal from ancient times. If what the second uncle in front of me said is true, then what is currently residing in second uncle's body is a true living ancestor. Values are impacted. All of this is too unbelievable. But he had to accept it, and after slowly calming down the shock, he realized that if the person in front of him were really the ancient ancestor, he should not be in danger. As a result, he began to slowly accept another sad fact. Uncle Heir, are you really dead? Zhang Xiaogua looked at the appearance and voice of his second uncle in front of him, still unwilling to believe that a family member who was so close to him as a child had already passed away. Lu Ye nodded silently and said, I have already passed away. Zhang Xiaogua fell into sadness upon hearing this. Immediately, as if thinking of something, he couldn't help but ask with sadness. Since you are the ancestor heavenly master and a true immortal, can't you let second uncle come back to life? Isn't he also your descendant? Lu Ye shook his head and said, life and death are the rules of the heavenly way. Even if I cultivate immortality and ascend to the immortal realm, I can only make myself immortal and cannot let others escape from life and death. Zhang Xiaogua's mouth slightly opened, falling into great disappointment and sadness. Uncle Heir has already died, which means I haven't even seen his last face. Silence lasted for half a minute. He finally withdrew from his sorrowful and regretful emotions, and then looked at the second uncle and living ancestor in front of him with awe and curiosity, asking, you said, it was second uncle who prayed for you to come down from the immortal world. So what are you doing in our world? Lu Ye remained silent, just extending his finger and using his divine sense, he tapped into Zhang Xiaogua's forehead. Suddenly, Zhang Xiaogua heard. In ancient times, there was a rupture, during the end of the Dharma era, and the Tao meridian declined. The 64th generation disciple Zhang Ziran begged his ancestor, the heavenly master. If you have a spirit in heaven, quickly descend to earth to save us from the suffering of the spirit, and revive the power of our Tao sect. This voice is exactly what his second uncle Zhang Ziran heard. Zhang Xiaogua suddenly looked at the living ancestor in front of him and sorted out some information. Before today, he had never believed that his ancient ancestor, the heavenly master, had truly ascended to immortality, nor had he ever believed that there were immortals in the world. Until now. Since there are indeed immortals in the world, looking at the world environment over the years, Uncle Heir's prayers and the descent of these immortals are indeed reasonable. Obviously. In a short period of time, Zhang Xiaogua has accepted Lu Ye's purpose and identity for coming to this world. So now that you have descended to earth, do you want to revitalize the Taoism you founded? Rania. After smiling, Lu Ye pondered for a moment and then asked, can you first tell me which year it is now, and then tell me how history came to this day? To understand a world, there are naturally two ways. Present and historical. Zhang Xiaogua said, now is the year 2022 AD. Well, continue. Lu Ye is calm, and he is familiar with the year of the year. For example, he traveled on Earth in his previous life in 2005 AD. In terms of history, Zhang Xiaogua said again, I'm not very good at it. I only know about the records of your ancestor, the heavenly master, which dates back to the ancient Qin and Han dynasties. However, it is now widely recognized in the historical community that there was a fault during that period. The fault was very long and it was a blank period, and it is unknown how many years it was. There were no historical or written records during the blank period. After the blank period, Emperor Guanwu Lu Xiu continued the Western Han dynasty and established the Eastern Han dynasty, which has been developing until now. Zhang Xiaogua said, alright, I'll search on my phone and you can see for yourself. When speaking, he didn't seem to be curious about mobile phones when he saw this ancestor, which disappointed him as a modern person. Lu Ye watched as he played a video on his phone and thought to himself, the phones in this world have more functions than those on Earth in my previous life. After all, it's a phone from 2022. In Zhang Xiaogua's video narration on his mobile phone, Luya basically understood the history of this world, almost like the Earth in the previous life. However, in the late Ming and early Qing dynasties of the previous life, this world underwent changes. In the late Ming dynasty, a person named Yang Qian appeared in history, overthrew the Ming dynasty, established the Qian dynasty, and then began to vigorously develop industry. And this Emperor Qian himself created many inventions, such as newspapers, soap, glass, cement, and so on. Luya twisted his beard and thought to himself, why does this sound like a story of a historical traveler? After listening to Zhang Xiaogua finish speaking on his phone, he was very skeptical about the identity of Emperor Qiantai on Earth. However, those were all historical figures more than 300 years ago. Although today's Great Qian still continues the name of Great Qian, under the influence of that Yang Qian, the east of this world has repeatedly seized the pulse of world change and even led the trend of the times and technological revolution. Now it is a constitutional superpower on this earth. After discussing the world and historical background, Zhang Xiaogua tentatively asked, "Now, my dear ancestor, where do you plan to start revitalizing the sect you founded? What can I do to help you, my junior? Didn't you already help me complete the discharge procedures? Then take me back to Longhu Temple first. Lu Yinyan Su Dao. As for you, as a descendant of the heavenly master lineage of the poor Taoist ancestor, you naturally have a connection with my path. In the future, you will follow me to practice with me, and in front of me, you can still call me second uncle. In private, just call me Grandmaster." "Okay. Grandmaster." Zhang Xiaogua respectfully replied. "Let's leave the hospital first." After a while, the two walked out of the hospital. Luya was dressed as a Taoist, with a blue robe and white background, and a hairpin tied to his head. He stood out in the bustling city and often caught the attention of passers-by. Zhang Xiaogua, who was busy on his phone for a while, turned to Luya and said, "Zhu. Uncle, I have already taken the bus and bought the ticket to return to Hemming Mountain. Let's wait here for the bus to pick us up." Luya looked curiously at Zhang Xiaogua's phone and said, "Is it all done on a phone? Is it expensive?" He still vaguely remembers when he traveled, in 2005, he used a Nokia phone, which cost 7,000 yuan and was a luxury model that could take photos. Zhang Xiaogua finally waited for the curiosity of the immortal ancestor about the phone and began to explain it through science popularization. "Uncle Air, in our world, there are many functions of the phone, including clothing, food, housing, and transportation, which can be achieved through the phone. Online shopping, taking a taxi, buying tickets, as well as live streaming, watching TV, and so on. My phone is not expensive either, just over 4,000 yuan." After speaking, he saw second uncle looking at him. "Can you also buy one for me?" End of this chapter. Chapter 9. The Method of Spreading the Word. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The Method of Spreading the Word. I want a phone. Zhang Xiaogua's face froze. He did indeed demonstrate the success of modern technology in front of the immortal ancestor, at the cost of too much success. Buy a phone. After hesitating, Zhang Xiaogua said with a bitter face, "Uncle Air, all the money I earned has been used to pay for hospitalization and treatment expenses. I only have 200 or 300 yuan on me now. At most, I can send us back to Hemming Mountain, but I don't have any spare money to buy a mobile phone." Then he said, "By the way, Uncle Air, when it comes to this, if we practice at the Dragon and Tiger Temple, we also have to spend money on food, clothing, and expenses. Where does the money come from?" Luya was taken aback for a moment and thought for a moment. Immediately, he sighed and didn't expect that he had already become an immortal. When he came to the modern city, there would be times when he needed money. After all, his physical body is still an ordinary person nowadays, but his divine sense is his. Before his cultivation is successful, his physical body still cannot avoid eating, drinking, and defecation, and his food, clothing, and expenses do require money. Zhang Xiaogua tentatively asked, "Second uncle, I saw a spell called 5 Ghosts Lucky Wealth in movies and novels. Do you know a similar spell? It should be easy to get some money to make a city obedient to thunder, lightning, and rain. The 5 Ghosts Luck in Wealth is simple, but this is the way to steal." Lu Yi glanced at him. "Grandmaster Tang, it's not appropriate to steal money for use. He came to this world to play the role of the ancestral heavenly master, and every move he made naturally required the demeanor of the ancestral heavenly master. The grand ancestral heavenly master used the 5 ghosts to steal wealth, which was not only disrespectful, but would definitely affect his performance. How could Zhu Tianshi be a petty thief? If it were his experience as a cultivator in his previous life, he could easily earn a large amount of money through any means of earning money. However, now that he wants to play the role of the ancestral heavenly master and refine his teachings, every word and action must conform to the personality of the ancestral heavenly master. Zhang Xiaogua asked, "So how should we make money?" Lu Yi pondered, how should Zhu Tianshi obtain it if he needed money? After a moment, he replied, "The practice of a Taoist monk is naturally nurtured by the believer's incense. If someone believes, they will naturally give us alms." Zhang Xiaogua said helplessly, "But at the moment, you are the only one in Longhu Temple. There are no followers of incense." Lu Yi glanced at Zhang Xiaogua. "Isn't that why Zhang Ziren invited him to come down to earth? The Dragon and Tiger Temple in this world, the Heavenly Master Mansion, has long been devoid of faith, and no one believes in this lineage." As Zhang Xiaogua said, "Nowadays, listed companies such as Doxy Company and Foxy Company are the most popular. And in terms of cultivation, in this era of the end of the Dharma, spiritual energy is also a problem. Without spiritual energy, one cannot practice, and this physical body is always just a mortal body." When he was using the 5 thunder technique today, he noticed this problem. The human body cannot withstand the immense power of his path, and in the future, such great spells need to be used with caution, otherwise this mortal body will eventually be backfired by the spells and cause major problems. So, after returning to the Dragon and Tiger Temple, he needs to study the reasons for the end of the law era in this area. As long as one can cultivate their physical body, they can easily manifest themselves and attract believers, which is not a problem. Retract thoughts. He became curious about Zhang Xiaogua's source of income and said, "Before that, how did you make money?" Zhang Xiaogua said, "After graduating from college, I started working on self-media." Self-media. Grandmaster, you may not be clear about it. Let me explain it to you later. After a moment, Lu Yi understood and said, "You're just performing on your phone, right?" Zhang Xiaogua defended himself by saying, "What I'm filming is vlog, also known as video logs, which means making interesting videos of life and sharing them online. It's like making a micro-movie, it's like. He was thinking about how to benchmark an ancient thing to explain to this immortal ancestor. In fact, Lu Yi had already understood and smiled lightly, saying, "After returning to the Dragon and Tiger Temple, you can still make money like this. As you said, since this Wei Lao Gu is a work and thing that spreads to the public, it can be used to spread the Taoist style of my Heavenly Master Tao Dragon and Tiger Temple." Are you saying? Zhang Xiaogua's eyes lit up and he said, "Let me continue shooting vlogs at Dragon and Tiger Temple and uploading them online." Yeah, how come I didn't expect that? As long as you show a little bit of magic in the video, will there still be a shortage of traffic and audience? As soon as he finished speaking, he quickly confirmed, "Do you mind revealing your knowledge of spells in this way?" He couldn't imagine how much impact it would have on the hearts of people around the world if they knew that there were really immortals and spells in the world, once they did so. I'm afraid even the most steadfast atheist would become a fanatical follower of their ancestors. However, this seems to be exactly the purpose of our ancestors coming down to earth to reorganize the belief in incense and fire, and to revive the culture of Taoist gods. under Zhang Xiaoguo's cautious questioning gaze. Sure enough. What's bothering me about this? Since I descended to earth, it was to fulfill your second uncle's request as a disciple of the Heavenly Master, Sun Yat-sen, to revitalize the lineage of our Tao and promote the teachings of the sages. This is something that should have happened. In ancient times, my cultivators gathered together to preach the scriptures, but now that you have a more convenient way to spread the scriptures, why not do it? Lu Ye said. Before discovering spiritual energy, apart from the great divine powers like today's 5 thunder technique, one cannot easily use them, but some small spells can be played with freely to gather followers. Zhang Xiaoguo was overjoyed. I seem to have seen a scene of my own video shaking the world. Lu Ye saw Zhang Xiaoguo's expression of turning worry into joy and smiled faintly. You can see why you are worried about gold and silver. On the journey of the Great Road, everything will naturally be resolved. What our ancestor said is reasonable. After a while, the train arrived and Zhang Xiaoguo took Lu Ye to the railway station, then transferred to the high-speed railway to go to Hemming County. After arriving in Hemming County, I have to take a tourist bus to the tourist service center. The altitude of Hemming Mountain is over 1,000 meters. The mountain is majestic, with lush trees and 2 streams surrounding it, resembling a towering crane spreading its wings. The pine and cypress forests in the mountain are lush and verdant, and the streams are cool and sound. The scenery is quite beautiful. Come to the tourist service center at the foot of the mountain. Lu Ye didn't expect there to be so many people here. Zhang Xiaoguo explained, Hemming Mountain was developed into a scenic area 6 years ago by a construction group and cultural tourism group in our Sichuan River. There are palaces such as Sangong Temple, Wenchang Palace, Taiching Palace, and Jiyuan Pavilion on it, all of which were newly built in recent years. Our Zhang family's courtyard, Longhu Temple, is located on the mountain near Taiching Palace and is a square courtyard. Originally, during the demolition and renovation of the scenic area, the Longhu Temple was also demolished, but it was because of my second uncle who chose to die rather than demolish it, that small courtyard belonging to our family was left in the scenic area. After speaking, he revealed his nostalgia. If we cooperate with the demolition and renovation of the Shaodao Temple by the construction group, we can at least compensate more than 10 million yuan. At the same time, the cultural and tourism group has also offered to let Uncle Air serve as a Taoist consultant for the scenic area. However, Uncle Air believes that the Longhu Temple is an ancient building left by his ancestors and must not be demolished, so he rejected all the conditions. It is precisely because of this that his parents have even more complaints towards Uncle Air, believing that Uncle Air refused the opportunity for the Zhang family to turn over. Zhang Xiaoguo brought Lu Ye to the intersection of the mountain and said, Uncle Air, let's go up the mountain. Speaking, he took the Taoist certificate and Taoist temple certificate from the Lu Ye bag to the entrance and handed them to the scenic area guard. The gatekeeper glanced at the Taoist's attire on Lu Ye, but did not answer. Buy tickets. Zhang Xiaoguo frowned and said, Look, this is my second uncle's Taoist certificate and Taoists also have to buy tickets. My second uncle is the Taoist here. Can I not recognize the homeowners living on the mountain? We are Taoists from the Dragon and Tiger Temple, here are the documents. I'm not looking at this, I'll buy a ticket, I won't let you in unless I buy a ticket. Lu Ye saw Zhang Xiaoguo's face turn red with anger and said, Are you unreasonable? This mountain is our place, and we still need to buy tickets when we go back to our own home. The sound of arguments immediately caught the attention of all the tourists at the uphill intersection, who curiously gathered around. Someone picked up their phone to take photos and record videos, and they all found it interesting. The gatekeeper of the scenic area, seeing more and more people gathering, still remained indifferent and said, To enter the scenic area, you have to buy tickets. Don't think that pretending to be a Taoist can get you in, this is the rule above. As they argued, the onlookers couldn't bear to see each other anymore and eagerly spoke up to help. Isn't Hemming Mountain a Taoist temple? They said it's a Taoist here, why don't you let them in? A tourist directly opened their phone and started live streaming, which quickly sparked heated discussions among netizens on the internet. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. My Wrath is Heavenly Wrath. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. My Wrath is Heavenly Wrath. The Taoist wandered down the mountain and was stolen when he returned home. In modern cities and the era of short videos, this video has elements that can make it popular, such as curiosity and fun. Therefore, with multiple shots taken by tourists at the entrance of scenic spots, it quickly became popular on the internet. In less than half an hour, the tourist who first posted the video quickly received tens of thousands of likes and views, and the comments section was filled with pitiful Luya and Zhang Xiaoguo's uncle and nephew, as well as indignation towards the tourist attraction. Especially when Zhang Xiaoguo's face turned red with anger, people online felt even more distressed and began to work hard. If I were this Taoist, I would immediately summon the heavenly thunder to chop down this scenic area. Left 0 and right fire, Lei Gong helps me. I want to laugh a bit, but I'm afraid of reducing my merits. At first, these were still online activities for people to watch, until tourists in the scenic area were filming videos and suddenly realized the innocence has darkened. Oh, why is it getting dark this day? It won't rain, will it? The scenic area blocks the Taoist priests from outside, even the heavens can't bear to watch. Zhang Xiaoguo looked up at the sky. He turned pale when he heard the words of the tourists around him, and instinctively turned back to look at Uncle Air. The sky is gloomy. Luya stood there with a calm expression. Second uncle. Zhang Xiaoguo quickly came to Luya and nervously advised, don't be angry, don't be angry. There are so many people here, and you won't really want to chop him. This is going to cost lives. Seeing Luya's face expressionless. But the sky has changed color. He no longer had the anger to argue with the scenic area gatekeeper, but instead was flustered. Others may only think that the change in heaven is a coincidence, but after seeing the 5 thunder technique, he has 100 firm conclusions in his heart. This inexplicable change in heaven comes from Uncle Air. You should know that this is a genuine ancestor around you, a true immortal who can summon wind and rain, and really strike a lightning bolt to kill an ordinary person. It's completely something that can be done in the blink of an eye. After all, Zhang Xiaoguo is just an ordinary college student. He is really afraid that Luya will kill a few people in a fit of anger, so he quickly said. Calm down, leave it to me, I'll handle it. Luya glanced at Zhang Xiaoguo. At that moment, the guard's phone at the entrance of the scenic area rang. After he answered, his face changed and he walked out. You can go up the mountain now. Zhang Xiaoguo breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing this, looked around, and immediately understood that the video taken by these tourists had caused public opinion. He quickly let the senior management of the scenic area know, so he called the entrance and asked them to let go. Uncle Air, let's go up the mountain. He looked at the sky and it was still so gloomy. He quickly pulled Luya and said. Let's go, don't have the same opinion as them. The guard pouted, sensitive to this sentence, but unaware that Zhang Xiaoguo was protecting him. Seeing 2 people able to climb the mountain, the onlookers also cheered, as if celebrating the effectiveness of their help in speaking. Step up the stairs. The security guard is still unhappy. A nail household on the mountain who refuses to demolish, what are you dragging? He also understood from the company leaders that Luya was indeed a Taoist on the mountain, the owner of the dog skin ointment and small courtyard surrounding the large palace in the mountain scenic area. However, as soon as he finished speaking, his eyes suddenly turned black. Faint. There is a feeling of fainting. Then there was the whole body stirring up, as if it was electrified. Looking at the sky again, it was as dark as a prison. This weather was good just now. Can you see the ghosts in the broad daylight? Looking at the back of Luya and Zhang Xiaoguo who had already climbed the mountain, I couldn't help feeling guilty. There won't really be any spells or anything like that, right? No one knows that this person will have bad luck every day for the next month. And, Taoist Yun Yu returned home and was stolen. At the foot of Hemming Mountain, the Taoist priest became angry and the sky changed greatly. The combination of such videos and news has made the already discussed and popular video popular again, and within the next 2 days, it made it to the top 10 on a certain video website, causing a lot of discussion. On the way up the mountain, Zhang Xiaogua couldn't help but question a small gesture made by Luya when he climbed the mountain. Grandmaster, what was that just now? That person is disrespectful and has committed verbal abuse. Give him a small punishment. There won't be any fatalities, will there? Don't worry, I'm not that stingy. Zhang Xiaogua looked up at the clear sky, but what the weather was like just now represented Lu Ya's mood. Therefore, he had doubts and reservations about the statement, Grandmaster is not so stingy, in his heart. Quickly, the two of them arrived at Hemming Mountain. As Zhang Xiaogua had said, there were scenic spots everywhere on the mountain, with less than 2 to 3 kilometers along the way, public toilets and steps paved with bluestone slabs. Along the way, there were many small shops selling beverages, snacks, cucumbers, and sausages. Along the way, they also encountered many mountain porters. After passing through several major palace complexes built in the past few years on Hemming Mountain, we finally arrived at the Dragon and Tiger Temple at the end of a small road not far from the palace complex. There are 2 big trees at the entrance of Longhu Temple, one on the left and one on the right. The left is a peach tree, and the right is a willow tree. The entire Taoist temple looks like a square courtyard. The canopies of 2 large trees are just enough to cover 3 rooms, making half of the entire courtyard shaded. Arriving at the 2 trees, Zhang Xiaogua said, when I was a child, I heard from Uncle Air that both of these trees are thousands of years old. It is precisely because they are too old that peach trees only bloom and do not bear fruit a long time ago. This place is quite quiet and suitable for us to cultivate. As Luya spoke, Zhang Xiaogua had already taken out the key to open the door of one of the houses in the left courtyard, and opened the other doors one by one. Although the Taoist temple is small and located in the center, it also houses a statue of the ancestor Zhang Daoling. Uncle Air has been living in these few houses on the left, and there is also a kitchen here. Zhang Xiaogua introduced to Luya. Luya found many books in one of the houses, including a box. After a few minutes, he finished browsing and saw the information he wanted to see. In ancient times, our ancestor Tianshi obtained the 9 Cauldron Pill Sutra and collected cinnabar, gold and silver, various mushrooms, 5 jade, mica, etc. to refine the pill at Yunjin Mountain. The pill was completed and the dragon and tiger appeared. This pill was called the 9 Cauldron Golden Pill, and Yunjin Mountain was also renamed Longhu Mountain. My ancestor, the Heavenly Master, said. The divine pill has been completed. If you take it, you will become a true immortal. However, I have no merit in the world, and I must eliminate harm and promote benefits for the people. After completing 800 merits, I will take the pill lightly and ascend to the world. See this detailed record. Luya finally understood the specific background of the event. Therefore, according to this original event, I first need to refine a golden pill, and then manifest the divine dragon and tiger vision in front of 100,000 followers, in order to refine 1/3 of the fruit space. Luya closed the book and muttered to himself in his heart. Refining pills is not difficult. I have never practiced too much in the immortal cultivation world. There are 2 methods of practice, one is the herbal pill method and the other is the golden stone pill method. Watching Zhang Tianshi refine pills, he used the golden stone pill method. The items recorded in ancient books include cinnabar, gold and silver, various mushrooms, 5 jade, mica, and so on. Among them, gold and silver are the most fundamental and have an immortal nature, so practicing them into pills can prolong a person's life. However, this item can only be taken by cultivators. For ordinary people, swallowing gold means committing suicide. Only cultivators can use their power to refine the immortal golden nature, from the golden pill, integrate it into their magic, scatter it into the flesh and blood of 100 bones, and prolong their life. But the key issue is all of this must be built on the foundation of spiritual energy. After tidying up the house, Zhang Xiaogua also asked, Grandmaster, what should we do when you talk about cultivation? To practice, one needs spiritual energy, but in today's world, it seems that there is no spiritual energy left. It is an era without spiritual energy. Luya returned to the road. Alchemy also requires it. He looked at the book in his hand and realized that in ancient times, there must have been spiritual energy. Otherwise, Zhang Daoling could not have trained into a golden pill or ascended to immortality. The spiritual energy is gone, the era without spirit. Zhang Xiaogua asked, isn't that right? We can't practice anymore. Lu Yadao said, things are not absolute. Spiritual energy is the foundation of all things. In theory, as long as there are living beings in the world, there is already spiritual energy. Therefore, I need to first look for the reason why you have lost spiritual energy in your current era. Speaking, he immediately sat down in place and slowly released the spiritual consciousness of the immortal realm towards the sky and earth. End of this chapter.